Hey, thanks for being in the REC experience. I'm your host, Jas Takhar, with your girl, Laura Elto Stewart. What's happening, Laura?
I'm great.
Crazy day. What's going on?
To start our first take, we do it, just so our viewers and listeners know, we never do two takes of anything.
Ever.
One and go.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Mistakes and all.
Leave it out there.
Yeah. Well, this time we had to stop.
Because you said the F-bomb. So we could, in the intro, you can't do F-bombs.
Okay.
Like later on.
Who knew?
You
Who
just
knew?
can't.
I thought it was all about being authentic.
It is. But there's kids listening. And at least in the episode, Clem, if you do a good job and if you are doing some work, you would put PG-13, rated R, you do your thing. This episode, though, was a banger. We had a guest co-host, and Elto, thank you so much for allowing the guest host, because that's you. Like, not that you're a guest host, you're the co-host, but we had a guest co-host join myself and our actual guest.
One of our faves.
One of our favorites.
And one of our previous guests.
Yes.
Twice.
Well, at least we've had Mr. Michael Sarracini from Keyspire, President and CEO of Canada's largest investment group. He was the guest co-host, and our actual featured guest was Mr. Dean Graziozi, who, if you haven't heard of this guy yet, he's been in the personal self-development, personal education, whatever you want to call it, for the last 20 years. He's actually now one of Tony Robbins, business partners on a bunch of ventures that Tony's up to. Dean is a wealth of knowledge, multiple New York Times New York Times bestseller list. He's an investor, a serial entrepreneur. Go check out everything that Dean does.
Between Dean and Michael, there was a lot of talking. And Jas didn't get his words in, his word count in like he usually does.
Well, you know what? Neither did Michael, actually, because it's hard, right? Like, Dean has just been around the block for such a long time. He's made so many mistakes. But his successes obviously outweigh those mistakes. But I love how he was sharing and willing and open to share a lot of failures, because he also, like myself and Michael and you, Laura, and I think most of you listeners and viewers know now that the best way to learn is from other people's mistakes, because they hit their head against the wall, so we don't have to.
I wouldn't mind if you get the wall your attacks. It's one of those days.
Guys, leave a comment. Please do. Let us know how we're doing. As always, make sure to give us the feedback, the constructive criticism, even like if it's not constructive. We really don't. It doesn't bother us. And make sure that you're part of our all-new text community. The link is below. But if you're driving, it's 647-372-0126. Just send us a text, join, and you're going to be part of our all-new text community for exclusive opportunities, exclusive content, and so much more. Make sure you're part of it, and thank you so much for all the support.
Enjoy the show, guys.
REC Experience presents Real Estate, Entrepreneurship, Leadership with your host, Jas Takhar. The REC Experience podcast is now on air.
Hey, thanks for being in the REC Experience. I'm your host, Jas Takhar, and we have a very special guest co-host with me today. For the viewers, you can see he's not as beautiful as Laura, but he's a good-looking man. It's Mr. Michael Sarracini. How are you doing today, Michael?
Awesome, Jas. I'm glad to be here again. This is just a great place to be, so thanks for having me.
I appreciate you co-hosting with me today. You've been on so many of our podcasts and bring so much value. And we have a special, very, very special guest with us today. Michael, I know you know him from before. Like, I know you guys were talking a little off air. It's been about 10 years since you guys have seen each other, but you guys do a lot of stuff together. It's Mr. Dean Graziozi. How are you doing, Dean?
I'm doing amazing, Jas. And Michael, good to see you again. Good to be here, man.
Well, Dean, I wanted to kind of get started with I myself grew up in the north part of Toronto in an area called Rexdale. It's a tough area, but it gave me some thick skin. So that I'm very proud of that. Gave me a little chip on the shoulder, which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing. But it was also at like from a school perspective. I loved school, but class and I really didn't get along. Had a hard time learning in that type of setting. I'm a big personal development guy. I know you are. I know Michael is. Can you talk a little bit about you growing up, Dean, and your story?
Yeah, I could share. And first off, everybody listening, I know you got a million places you could be, a million different podcasts and videos. So if you're going to spend time with us, we're going to knock it out of the park today. So I shut off all the distractions, like pay attention because we're going to deliver some value here. I would say, I'll only tell my story to the extent to know if you're listening right now, I promise you I've been wherever you are. I've been broke and wondering if things could work out. I've felt hopeless. I had envy when other friends were going off to college and things seemed to be going their way and I didn't know where I was going to be. I felt like an imposter. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't know if I could achieve more. I wanted it. I wanted to take care of my family. You say you have a little chip for where you grew up. I don't know if I didn't really have a chip. I had we're all different, but we all have our own journey, right? Jas, my journey was less of a chip and more of a desire. I watched my mom work 3 jobs to make nothing. We lived in a trailer park and she'd go cut hair, she'd clean houses, she painted houses. She'd come home at 9 o'clock at night tired and her hands would hurt and her back would hurt. And I just remember, I bet you it was my version of a chip. I was like, screw that. My mom works too hard. She deserves more. And I say that, the hair stands up on my arms because my mom was my first reason why I wanted to be successful because I hated it. I hated her being tired and I hated, she was a single mom. I hated coming home and being alone every day. Like, it wasn't like poor me. I just missed my mom. So my chip was like, I'm getting successful no matter what. But then simultaneously, again, and I'm sharing this not to be look at me and look what I've done, more of maybe you could see yourself in some of my story somewhere. When I wanted to be successful, I didn't have what so-called society thought you needed to be successful. I had dyslexia. I struggled in school. I knew I wasn't going past high school. I barely got out of high school. So it was like this, from what the world said, I had this massive desire to be successful, to take care of my mom, to have more freedom, to be in control of my life and not have people tell you what to do and how to live and how to dress and all that. But simultaneously, I wasn't a good student. I didn't think I was that smart. I wasn't going off to college. So from guidance counselors to friends to even family, it's like, this guy's just a dreamer. He wants more. He works hard. He's a hustler, but he doesn't have what it takes. And I bet most of us listening at some point felt like an imposter or felt like you didn't have what it takes or someone didn't believe in you or what your thoughts were a dream and they could never become a reality because statistically speaking, Michael, you shouldn't make it. Jas, you shouldn't make it. Dean, come on, you don't have what it takes. And at the end of the day, they're all wrong. And that's the best thing I want to share or hope to get across today is that inner self-doubt that says you're an imposter is wrong. That subconscious trying to protect you is wrong. The friends, the family that think, you should not be such a dreamer and play small, they're wrong. They're all wrong. And the biggest shift in my life is when I realized that. When I didn't have to look at statistics or that I didn't have to have the best degree or come from a family with money, that really we live in a world where we can make our own destiny. Now it's like, oh, Dean, you make your own destiny. But it's really true because if I could make it, most people can, right? And it really comes down to a few things. Is my belief just shifted and I believed I could. And I know you've all heard that. I'm not saying anything new. But I want to tell you, I had just this massive belief that I could, and my father couldn't break it. My sister sat me down like an intervention and told me to stop dreaming. She couldn't break it, right? Almost a million times that inner voice said, you're not smart enough, you live in the wrong area, you don't have money, it takes money to make money. A million times I was a millimeter away from going, they're right, let me just settle. And thank God I didn't. So if anything about my story is that you get from it is that I did live in a trailer park. I did struggle. I did have envy. I did fail miserably. I've had sleepless nights. I had a bleeding ulcer at one point in my life from worrying so much. But at the other side of that, I've started 13 companies. I'm a multiple New York Times best-selling author when I have dyslexia and still can barely read. I've touched the lives of millions of people. People like Tony Robbins, who changed my life 20 years ago with his course, are now my dearest friends in the world, and we're partners. And so you really can have both sides. So if anything from that context of my story is really just, I know what it feels like no matter where you are. I've been broke, I've been in the middle, and I've had more success than I ever dreamed possible. And today, hopefully we can deliver some things to help you go from where you are to where it is that you want to be.
Yeah, you know what? I want to jump in, Dean. One of the most powerful things that I've learned from you, and you guys watching, I mean, your audience knows me, Jas. I've been here before. We talk real estate, we talk personal development, but I've learned a lot of things I've learned from Dean. And one of the things that is the most powerful, Dean, that you teach people out of your hundreds of tools and the millions of people is helping people identify the story they tell themselves. And I forget what chapter in Millionaire Success Habits this is. It's in the KBB, like it's in the story. And I don't care how successful I've been. I wake up mornings and I tell myself a story like I can't do it. I can't get to that next level. It happens to me all the time. I watch your video, I read your chapter. And so maybe when you think about, the story, the belief system, tell us a little bit about how we can shift it by calling BS on our story, because that has helped me immensely. And you do an amazing job, right? The inner, and then the inner villain, the inner hero, man, that is like anyone can shift their life with that.
Yeah, Michael, thank you. And it's so true, right? Because I just want to share that there's a certain point in your life where that story is never there. The self-doubt is never there. Now, I'm lying. It's there every single day. I don't care how much success you have. I've met the most successful people in the world. I feel like I wake up some mornings feeling like an imposter, like I'm playing too big a game. When are they going to realize I'm not the smartest guy in the room? Like, I still feel that way. I still feel like that broke kid from upstate New York afraid to make that move. It never goes away. It's just building this muscle of courage to shut that voice up and say, they don't make statues of critics. They don't make statues of people who play small. You're not going to, I think of things, and I'm going to get to that, Michael, but I do crazy stuff, and you might have heard me say this, but I really do it. I think of being at the end of my life. Jas, I see you smiling, but imagine being at the end of your life and you get a chance to meet your maker, whoever you believe your maker is. And you sit with your maker and they go, hey, how was your life, Jas? How was your life, Michael? Or if you're listening, and you're like, it was good. I was going to go for more, but, I really wasn't that smart, or I didn't have the money, or my wife or my husband, they just didn't support me. So, life was okay. Actually, life was good. Could you imagine sitting with your maker and he made you human, put you on earth, and you got to tell your maker you just spent the last 85 years living an okay, good
Dean,
life.
I felt like puking. I felt like puking when you're making me think about it when I'm 90, 100 years old. Continue.
Yeah, think about God, I even think of deeper. I think of God or whatever you believe your maker is, being disappointed, being like, oh my God, another one. Really?
Another one.
Let me hear the story on why you didn't. Well, I grew up in a really rough side of town. It's like, oh my, really? So you lived an okay life because I put you in that rough side of town so you could have the grit to do it. Oh my God. All right, next. I need to talk to somebody like Jas who went after it. Like I could picture that. I ain't letting that happen to me. I would much rather sit with my maker and go, I failed miserably most of my life, but I went after it. I went after it hard. I got bloody. I got marred. I was on the field playing the game. There's a famous Theodore Roosevelt quote that he shared in France about Google it whenever you get a chance, about being on the field. And it's just the most amazing quote. It's like, I'm going to paraphrase it, but he said, most people sit in the stands and they poke and they judge. He's like, I never want to be the person in the stand. I want to be the person on the field, getting bloody, getting marred, playing the game. And at the end of my life, if even I tried valiantly and failed, at least I know I went after it. And in the greatest of times, I will be on the field, failed, but then succeeded and reached my full potential. He has it way more elegant than that, but it just makes me think, I don't want to sit in the stands wearing someone else's jersey on my back. Screw that. I want to be a player. I don't even care if I play and fail. I'm just not going to be the person cheering for someone else because I'm afraid to take uncomfortable, imperfect action. That's what we all have to take. So the reason I share things and I try to inspire is because all I want to do is spark an emotion, right? Like an emotion to action. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't have every answer, but I know I'm pretty good at disturbing people into action. And if you do that, it's like you put a hot coal under someone's ass, they move. And that's what I hope to do, even when we're talking today, just to go, shit, I'm making a move today. So Michael, I want to talk about the power of beliefs.
Yeah.
Every single person listening has heard this. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but maybe today this is the first time you can listen and really hear this. Your life is being determined by the story you tell yourself. It's as simple as that. Right now, COVID has just disrupted the world. Race relations disrupted the world. Here in America, the election, people are going nuts over it. Like, this is the craziest year ever. So what does it mean to you? It's not the situation, it's your perception of the situation, right? We know that, but it's the story. Now, let me just I'm gonna give you a real life example about COVID. So a friend of mine shared this story in Utah on the same street, about 3 miles away from each other, Jas and Michael, there's 2 restaurants, right? And this is like 6 months ago now, when COVID first hit and everything was shut down. You remember when it went really quick? Like end of February, we didn't even know it was here. By like 2 weeks later, the world was shut down and we were in a pandemic, right? So this is the story he told me, true story. 2 restaurants, a couple miles away on opposite sides of the streets. He knows both the owners. Pandemic hits, all the restaurants are shut down. The one restaurant owner pissed. He said he was blaming China. I can't believe China, those sneaky bastards. They did this and they did it on purpose. He was blaming the president for not going quick enough, blaming society, blaming everybody. Kind of like the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Someone moved this guy's cheese and he crossed his arms going, I want it back. This was his story. Someone else robbed his cheese. He wanted his cheese back and he was mad and he wasn't moving until someone fixed it. 3 miles down the road on the other side of the street, some brothers own a restaurant. It's a barbecue restaurant. Shut down. The weekend they were shut down, Jas, they went to Lowe's. They got a bunch of lumber. The 3 brothers got friends, and they built this outside drive-through. They went inside the kitchen and moved everything around so they could work 6 feet apart. Within 48 hours, they were back open. He said within a week, there was a line down the road, and they were booming. He said their business tripled because of COVID. So think about this. Sometimes when situations happen and we tell a story, it's the end. And to someone else, the same story, it's the beginning. Now, I picture this, guys. I picture 5 years from now, someone brings up COVID in 2020. The first guy I told you about, they go, what happened COVID? Ugh, I had my restaurant, COVID came, the Chinese, Trump, this, that, ruined my life. It was over, I lost my restaurant. COVID ruined my life. Down the street, you ask the 3 brothers, you know what they say? Oh my God, COVID, we turned into a drive-through company. We have 16 locations now all across the valley. COVID saved my life. What was different? COVID hit. COVID was the same. Shutdowns were the same. They were equally the same. They were on the same street, in the same city. Nothing was different except one thing. The story they told themselves. One said, this is the end. The other one had a story that this is the beginning.
I love it. I love it. I mean, a lot of my listeners and viewers know that myself and my business partner, we have a team of 34 realtors and 10 support staff. And when COVID hit, that was our message to our realtors. And we said, look, at the end of the year, we're either going to be telling ourselves that we're getting out of business or we got through this. Not only did we survive, but we thrived. And I'm so proud to say, 5-6 months now since the lockdown started, we've done close to $50 million in real estate sales, where in the past, last year, that's what it took us 11 months to hit those numbers. And it was just really a mindset.
Okay, so Jas, let me ask you, why do you think you were able to spin them?
Well,
and be able to do that.
Personally, it was me shutting out the external noise, Dean. Like I had my core staff, the 10 core staff around me. We were on Zoom conferences from 8:30 in the morning till 6:30 in the evening, and we stayed positive with each other. We went on essentially a news diet. Like I till this day don't know how many cases were around, like what was happening, because I was like, we were going to focus on the core business, which is sales and service. We couldn't really sell real estate within that first month because we didn't understand what was going on. So we made sure we serviced our clients. We called, we asked, hey, do you need us to pick up groceries? Do your neighbors need to pick up groceries? As we were speaking, getting on calls with gentlemen like Michael and his organization and finding out what they're doing. Surrounding ourselves with positive people, making sure that the vibrations that we were putting out were positive, because I like to come from the perspective that like attracts like. We really, really went internal here. We explored as a mutual friend, a mentor from afar for myself, and I think I can speak for Michael. Tony says, and a very close friend of yours, we explored the web in here. and made sure we shut out that external noise.
Well, Jas, the reason I was going to say this is I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's because this is really important for everybody to hear this right now. Is Jas turned his company around when everybody else was drowning and struggling and scared for one main reason, and I saw this already. One of the first things you said to me when we started is, I work on my personal development all the time. If that is not a sign that it is more important to work on your mindset and the web that lives in here than the actual tactical strategies on the outside, nothing is. Because every one of your competition, Jas, every one of your competition, Michael, had the same opportunity to do what you did, to focus on sales and service, to focus on a different mindset, to shut off the noise. I haven't watched the news in 12 years, so I get it. I have zero clue how many cases there are. I don't know anything that's going on right now. I'm worried about my family, my economy, my tribe, my people, because if I can help my team, they can help their families can help their friends, and we spread the love, we spread a positive movement, right? So if you think about the difference in everybody watching, it's like most people, when they think of going to another level of income or happiness or success, they want the secret, they want the tactic, they want the strategy, and they discount the mindset. Right? And that's the evolution. Again, you mentioned Tony. Tony changed my life 25 years ago with a course because I realized beliefs and story. And when COVID shifted the world, most people stood around with their arms crossed waiting for it to go back. And you know, Humpty Dumpty broke. It's not going back together the same way. Like, it never goes back the same way. And we need to be emotionally prepared to pivot. I mean, that's why I did a whole training yesterday on pivoting, because if you don't shift, the world leaves you behind. And that's when you know, I'm going to say one last thing here. So many times when I get into an Uber, if it is someone from a different country, most of the time they're badass entrepreneurs. There's nothing like the immigrant mindset for an entrepreneur. They left some place that sucked, that didn't allow them to go and be their own human and do their own things. And I love hearing this story. I came from Iraq. I came from India. I came all over the world. I love it. And I ask all of them, and a lot of them are like, I'm on my third vehicle, and you know, I love it. And sometimes and this is going to sound horrible, but sometimes I get in a car with 55-ish, 60-year-old guy from America, and it's usually a dude, and I'll hear the story of how he once made it. And but the real estate crash of 07, that was the way that Wall Street ripped us all off. My company was stripped and it was over, and screw that. This thing is unfair and it sucks. So now it's okay. I don't need to do anything else. I just love doing Uber. And then I also see him go, yeah, but you know, I see you on TV, man. And so how's it feel to be in the game? Like missing it, terrible. But what happened is when the world shifted, which most people do, they get mad and cross their arms, don't work on their personal growth, don't work on that inner web. They're waiting for someone else to fix it and on the outside. And I say, you know, we don't know what's going to happen there. I've never relied on anyone. And when things go wrong, I take responsibility. It's my fault, even if it's on my team. So I'm just sharing that, and it might sound like I was being rude there, but no. I feel bad when I hear someone tell me that story, because they had it to do it once. And if they had the mindset, if they worked on the ability to pivot, change, focus on solutions, shift their story, change their beliefs, they're the little things. My dear friend Randy Garn, he's one of the sweetest humans on this earth. He always says, the little things aren't the big things. The little things are everything. And it's like little hinges swing a big door. Those little things, like Michael says, go back to my book to change your story. Like, you know, I didn't invent that. I might have got it from Tony or Dale Carnegie or Earl Nightingale or Jesus. Who knows? I got it from somebody, right? But I adapt it, and it's part of my life. And I want to ask you, it's like going to the gym. If you know how to work out and get in shape, that doesn't put you in good shape. You have to get your ass to the gym and practice every day. If you know you have to shift your story, if you know your beliefs are screwing you up, you can't just listen to us and think it'll change. You have to practice it. You have to get in the gym. You have to listen to it. And you have to put it in your life. When Jas was under pressure, his years of training and listening to Tony and reading books and all the other books I can imagine you reading, I see some of them on your shelf, all of that came into play at that moment, and you could tap into those resources. So instead of getting small and waiting, you took action and did Zoom calls from 6 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, or whatever the time was. And now you're going to have the best year of your life in supposedly the worst year.
Yeah.
Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, so I want to go back, Dean. I want to go back to something that's super important you touched on. I've heard you say this before. I love it. It is so clear. You say your emotional strength, your mindset, it's a muscle. You wouldn't go to the gym and work out one day and say, I'm good for the year. I'm quoting you. I'm quoting, like, I didn't make this up. Dean, like, you wouldn't be good for the year. So how can you think you can work on your mind for one day a week, one day a month, and your mindset, your emotional strength is there? And I learned this probably 5 years ago, 15 years into business, that the emotional strength is more important than the tactics and the strategy, right? Those aren't going to bring you where you need to go and break through that ceiling of complexity. So Dean, maybe you can help us and the viewers, being a real estate based audience, but knowing that the real estate tactics, none of that matters unless you've got that emotional mindset as the foundation. How do we exercise that every day? What's something we can do as real estate investors, or just as anybody, to exercise this muscle? If I go to the gym, I do curls, I do squats. What am I going to do to exercise my emotional strength?
I love it. Great question. I still have to, listen, this is what I do every day. I'm blessed to be a multiple New York Times bestselling author on mindset, right? I've sold millions of books on mindset. I get to be best friends with Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard and all these great people that I'm with every day. And still, if I don't do it nonstop, Michael and Jas, I'm not kidding you, I still can fall into the funk of the human I was pre-personal development. I really can. I could fall into, this isn't going to work. I can't believe, why did I even try this? Oh my God, I got enough money to retire. Why the fuck am I starting 3 new companies? What's wrong with me? Why am I working so hard? Why did I do this shit? I could just quit and just be a good dad. Like, I literally fall into that. Those exact things I just said to you. You know how long ago it was that I actually said that to myself? Like 4 days ago.
It's our default state, right? That's where we go to default.
Like, I ain't shitting you. 4 days ago, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I started 3 new companies. I'm like, right now, I'm running Tony's company and my company and a new company I started with Russell Brunson. Like, what the hell is wrong with me? And I could default back to that, but I don't, because I work on me and my mindset every day. So I'm going to give you 3 quick tips, and I'm making these up as I go because they're part of my life. I set up every morning for playing offense, not defense.
Yeah.
Whatever that morning routine is for you. Some people have hour-long morning routines. I don't have time for that. But what I do is I wake up and I think of something, and I'm going to tell you why. I think of something that I'm grateful for. Now, you've heard that too, gratitude journals and all that. You run out of stuff to be grateful for. So I wake up and just think, I'm happy to be alive. These sheets feel good. I'm next to my amazing wife. My son's in the other room. He's healthy. Just one little thing to put my mindset in what I have rather than what I don't. Because you know this, if you focus on what we lost in COVID, that's the result you have. If you focus on what you could gain from COVID, it all. So I want to practice putting myself in a place where I'm like, oh, I have a lot. So I think of something I'm grateful for. In the next moment, I think of one win that I had the day before. And then I think of one win that I want to have that day. I don't know, for me, that just puts me in a certain state, like, I'm a lucky bastard. And I accomplished some good shit yesterday, and I'm going to accomplish some good stuff today. Yeah. Right? And then I get up. I felt like I get up. I try not to look at my phone. Some days I do. I won't lie. Most days I don't. I go pound a green drink, and I go exercise. For me, that puts me in like an offensive space. If I wake up and look at my phone and go, oh, shit, that deal didn't go through, I knew they'd screw that up. That's the state I'm in all day. So I do everything in my morning in the first half hour to protect my whole day. So you know those days that stuff comes out and you go, I got this, give me it. Yeah. And then you go on to offense where you could drive your company. There's other days, you know, you're just kind of waiting for the shit to go sideways. Like, oh, wait for the sales team to call. Man, they're not really selling. Oh, wow, our CRM's not working. Shit. Okay, put me on the phone with the CRM. Oh, the accountant said our books are off. Like, you know those days when everything feels like 4,000 pounds? Sure. Yeah. But the next day could have the same weight. But if you're in an offensive mode, you're like, bring it. Give me that shit. Give me the accountant. Put him on the phone. Like, I want to be in that state. So I protect my morning and I protect my confidence. Do everything in your power to not allow anything to ding your confidence. If the news robs your confidence, if a friend robs your confidence, if a certain sibling robs your confidence, distance yourself or find a way not to let it in, because we don't do anything good with lack of confidence. Number 2, I'd say, is really, and you could read Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul, or you can read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Both amazing books. But it really boils down to this. Be the observer of your thoughts, right? It sounds crazy and stupid, but we know we always got 2 voices, right? Like you go someplace and you walk in, you say to somebody, oh, hey, what's up? Nice to see you, Michael. And at the same time, you're like, why would he wear that shirt? You know what I mean? Like, you know those two questions? Like, or you're speaking on stage and everybody's fired up and one person's sleeping, and I'll be talking, and in my head I'm like, the hell's that dude sleeping for? I'm lighting everybody up. Like, we have two voices. You got to watch that voice telling you, COVID screwed you up. That guy let you down. They're doing it behind your back. This isn't for you. You can't make it. That voice is always there. And if you're not observing it, that voice will take over and run your shit. And it could run it for a day, a week, a month, a year. So one is protect your morning and your confidence. Number two is be the observer of your thoughts and switch that shit up. If you have the story like the guy that said, everybody screwed up my business, I'm going out, or let's get innovative and create a drive-through, which thought are you having? If you're an observer and that you're going down the bad road, flip it. And then the third thing, stay in the game. I still listen to an audio every single day, whether that's a book on audio or a podcast. Every day I am listening to either personal growth or, I just did a 60-hour listen to the story of George Washington, because to me that's personal growth. That guy was the quintessential underdog. He should have failed 5,000 times, should have got killed 5,000 times, and he found a way to get back up. So I'll either read a George Washington book or personal growth, always feeding my mind, always watching videos, and always practicing what I preach. That's how you stay in the game.
I love it. Yeah. Feeding your mind. I want to just quick comment. Feeding your mind, like, it's health and wealth are similar, right? If you want to eat healthier, I've always been told, I love this, just eat the good stuff and you won't have room for the bad stuff. Fill yourself with the good stuff first, the greens. You could do the same thing with your mindset. Instead of watching that TV, the train wreck TV, you fill your mind with a good podcast and a good audio. And I love that. You fill your mind first, protect your mornings. I love it. I wrote it down. It's great. Jas.
I also wanted to quickly just acknowledge, Dean, when you mentioned that, look, it's okay to get into a rut. Don't beat yourself up. And for everybody who's watching and listening right now, both Michael and Dean mentioned that, look, even them, they have bad days. They have bad moments. They don't just, go to sleep for the rest of the month and say, I'm shit at this. I'll never get it done. They understand that they had a bad moment, they had a bad day, but they get back up again and start over again. Michael, as my guest host today, I'm a guest co-host today. I want you to leave us with one tip for our viewers and listeners, and then we're gonna let Dean close it off because I want to make sure we're very respectful of his time. So to you, Michael, one tip or one strategy for our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, so one strategy I can give is focus on your economy in here, not out there. And Dean touched that as well. When COVID hit, the very first training, I went live with our audience. I said, everyone, forget it out there. Focus on your own economy. So I'm going to underscore what Dean touched on. I'm going to say 100 times this year, focus on your economy, not what's happening out there, because that's what you can control.
And to you, Dean?
It's something I've been teaching my son, who's 11 years old, to be 12 in 2 months. And for him, I made it simple. And since you used the word focus, it triggered. I teach my son to say, focus on the fix, right? Focus on the solution. Another one of those things you've heard a million times, but how diligent have you trained your brain that when stuff goes sideways, you find the solution, not why it went wrong? And I'm going to challenge you to see that when things happen, our brain wants to go to the root cause of the problem. Why did this happen? Whose fault is it? Right? It's like the milk spills. I know, a silly analogy. Our brain wants to go, who tipped it over? Why was it on the carpet? Oh my God, the carpet's going to smell. How are we going to get the smell? That's where our brain goes to. It's the way we're designed. I believe I was born a pessimist and I fight every day to be an optimist. Like, our brain wants to go towards what's wrong, when really, when the milk spills, just go get a damn towel, clean it up, and get a new glass of milk. Like, we need to shift our brains to that when shit goes sideways. Jas, you did this elegantly. You were on the phone with your team going, let's go into service. We can't sell right now. That's focusing on solutions. As crazy as that sounds, most of the world doesn't. Most of the world will figure out, why do you think Trainwreck TV is so good? Why do you think people who are liberal in the United States obsess on CNN, and people that are ultra-conservative are on Fox News? They're looking for the problem and who's the devil and who made it happen and whose fault. If they would just shut their mouths and come together and work on solutions, we would be a better nation. Our religions would all merge together. Our parties would merge and understand each other by simply focusing on solutions, not whose fault it is. And in my company, we built such an amazing culture because we have a whole group of 100 people that look out for each other, don't have to always agree, but we understand each other and we focus on solutions. So that's my final takeaway.
I love it. And I'll leave my viewers and listeners with, don't focus on the how, spend time on the what and the why. What do you want? Get very clear on that. Why do you want it? Because as obstacles come your way, you better have a strong why to not only go above or below those obstacles, but right through those obstacles. The how will always show up. It's not your job. It's the universe's job to find the how. Michael Sarracini, I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure to be here with you two great guys. So thanks, guys, for having me.
Dean, I appreciate you so much for all the good that you put out there, and not only with your successes, but your failures. You put it all out there for all of us to learn. So guys like Michael and I and all the viewers and listeners, we don't have to hit our head against the wall as many times as you did in the past. So thank you for your time.
Well, Michael, pleasure to see you again, man. It's been 10 years. Hopefully it won't be another 10 before we talk. Jas, this is the first time we're meeting, man. I can feel your soul and feel your heart. You're putting a lot of good out into the world. I mean it. I feel your love. I feel your caring. And this is just the beginning for you. I can't wait to watch both you guys continue to grow and make an impact on the world. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate everybody for listening and watching.
This has been the REC Experience Podcast with Jas Takhar, an REC Canada production.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please take a second right now to subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening. It means the world to me. Thank you.